Who's that guy that talks and talks and talks and talks?
Larry Ferguson.
Larry Ferguson.
And talks and talks and talks.
Larry Ferguson.
Larry Ferguson.
Larry Ferguson.
And talks and talks and talks.
Larry Ferguson.
And Larry Ferguson.
Larry Ferguson.
Mr Nashville Talks.
Mr Nashville Talks.
Mr Nashville Talks.
Oh yeah, that's me. And I'm still talking. So make sure you watch Mr. Nashville Talks.
Who are you, Larry?
Who am I? Who is Mr. Nashville? Well, Mr. Nashville is kind of an alter ego, kind of a caricature of my own personality. I kind of got the idea because of my accent. When I would go out like to New York or Chicago or wherever, I would kind of get ribbed about it. And of course, I don't even know it's there, you know. But the first time that I met Joan Rivers, she was doing her show and she kept heckling me, you know, calling me, "Hey Nashville, hey Nashville, hey Nashville," and then it finally got to be Mr. Nashville. And then we were at another event a couple years later, and I met Sarah Palin. Now, I'm not getting political, so if you like her, cool. If you don't like her, cool. It's all right. But she was real nice to me. But anyway, and so she kept calling me Mr. Nashville, and so that just kind of stuck. And I remember I sent off a picture to Sarah, and when she sent it back, and I rarely send the pictures and have people sign them, but I thought it was kind of cool, and so I sent the picture, and she sent it back, and on it she wrote, "To Larry, Mr. Nashville," and I said, "It's meant to be. That's who I am." So I kept that name. But my name is Larry Ferguson. I am from Louisville, Kentucky. I lived in Nashville for 15, 17, 18 years, something like that. I love it. I have two sons. One is 16, and his name is Christian. One is 12. His name is Pierce. I'm a single full-time dad, music producer, TV show host, do it all. How I got started in the music business? Well, I always wanted to be in the music business. I wanted to be a singer, and the thing about that, the only reason why I didn't make it is because I can't sing, so that didn't work. But when I was growing up, there was always music in my house. My dad was a musician. He could play anything that had strings, and anything else. If you gave him 3 or 4 minutes, he could learn that. And so music was always a big part of my family. And so I really longed to be in the music business. But I settled down into normal work, you know, just regular, everyday work. And as I got older, I decided I wanted to get involved in what I knew how to do, and that was promote. And so I invested money, and I started promoting gospel concerts first, and then I branched out into country music concerts and did really well with that. So that's how I got started. My first big break was in doing the concerts, promoting the concerts that I was doing. I got to work with one of my heroes, and that was Dottie Rambo. And we had such tremendous crowds every time I worked with her. And she and I became dear friends, and she was like a mom to me. And she had some things come up and needed a manager, and called me up one night at 3 in the morning and said, "Hey, would you consider doing this?" And I said I'd be honored. And it was a real big risk for both of us. And I'm so glad I took it, because it's been the most rewarding thing in my whole life, getting to know her and work with her, and she was just an angel to me.
I've often said I feel like that I've been dropped in a hole until Larry came. And a lot of people thought I was dead.
It just took somebody caring, and that she knew that they cared. And once that happened, I think she thought she had more reason to go, more reason to live. And she saw the people still loved her. And she just started soaring after that.
Thank God that Larry and I went and talked to a lawyer, got things all fixed. You'll never know what they meant to me.
I tell you what it was like to be and work with Dottie, to be around her and work with her was just amazing all the time. She was one of these people that if you loved her on television, you loved her off television, because she was exactly the same. And she never met a stranger. If you went out of the house with her, you were going to be out all day because everyone was going to stop her. And she was going to talk to everybody and love everybody. And she really became like my mom. She was very spiritual, very loving, very caring. She was like a grandmother to my sons. And she was very easy to work with. And it wasn't like sitting around playing guitar all day long, although those moments when, she would be writing a new song spontaneously with her guitar and have me sitting beside her bed as she called out those lyrics, writing them down for her, were some of the most emotional and rewarding things of my life. And I'd say that probably of everything in my life outside of my children, working with her has been the greatest thing that I've ever been a part of. Well, when I was working with Dottie, we had so many adventures on the road, and it was always an experience. I mean, there was always someone coming up famous to see her, or someone interesting that we met, or some crazy person we met, or some of the fun things and experiences on the road. Everything always goes wrong on the road and everything. So it seemed like everywhere we went, by the end of the night, I was telling these stories, and everybody was just kind of gathered around listening to me tell all these wild stories that happened to us on the road and funny things that happened to us on the road. And because everybody, first of all, loved Dottie and wanted to know about them. And but she would get a kick out of them, and she'd say, tell them about this, tell them about that. And so she'd say, I hope you're writing this down. And she said, you're going to write a book one day. And so she kept saying, I want you to write a book, I want you to write a book. So the opportunity came up, and I wrote a little book called Driving Miss Dottie, and it tells about all the fun things that she and I adventured together. It's not a biography. They're more short stories of fun things that happened to us on the road, but I do intend to write a book about her life, and then also about my story with her and things in the future. But Driving Miss Dottie was a fun little book that she loved. She wrote the foreword to it, and a lot of people endorsed it. Dolly Parton, Barbara Mandrell, Crystal Gale, Lily Tomlin. A lot of great people endorsed it and loved the book. So that I was really proud of that book. When we had the bus crash, it was May 11th, 2008. It was Mother's Day, and it was the worst feeling of my life when I found out that we had lost Dottie. I was out of it for a long time, and I was told that people had told me that she had died, and but I did not remember it. And how I remember hearing about it was a chaplain or someone came in and they had a postcard or a note, sympathy card, sorry, from Dolly Parton, and it was wishing me and my family well and telling me how sorry she was about Dottie's passing. So that's the moment in which I remember hearing about her death. It's hard on me to this day. All the injuries that I had, all the heartache from it, nothing, not anything compares to losing her, and you never get over it. Like I said, losing Dottie was the hardest part. It made all the other things that happened to me very easy to get by with. I lost my femur altogether, and when I tell people that, even nurses, they're like, "Well, you didn't lose it," and then when they do the X-ray, they're just like, "You were right. You lost your femur. You had it replaced," because they never heard of that. But I didn't even understand that when I was told. I just thought it was something easy, but it's the thickest bone in your body. And the doctor said when he opened it up, it was just snow. Just, the bone was just like snow. So I lost every bit of that. And I had to have several surgeries on that. And they also, in one surgery, took part of my hip out and put it down there. It never did work. So it left me 3 inches shorter on one side. And I broke my jaw in several places, broke my other leg. I broke lots of bones, but had to learn to walk again, and blew a lung, just all kinds of things that happened. My mouth was wired shut for a long time, and that was, next to Dottie, that was probably the most painful thing, not being able to eat or talk, especially the talking. And I think that made a lot of family members happy that my mouth was wired shut, but didn't make me too happy. Well, in dealing with, the loss of Dottie, I wasn't even able to go to her funeral. And I'll never forget, Dolly Parton was so sweet. She let me come to Dollywood, and she planted a rose for Dottie at Dollywood. And that was kind of my funeral for Dottie, was at Dollywood. So I thank her so much for that, because I didn't have any way to say goodbye or, memorialize her.
Well, I just want you to know that we're happy that you're doing better, and we're happy to have you here today. And I wouldn't have wanted to do this without you being here. And his little son, Christopher, used to also sing with Dottie. And of course, I think his children got injured a little bit, but they're all doing fine now, right? Anyhow, we're not actually going to plant the rose in the garden now. They're going to carry it around a little bit later. This is just the ceremony, so we could just let everybody know that this particular rose is in memory of Dottie Rambo, and it's going to be taken and planted. And I also have something for you, just a rose that we have in this vase here for you to take to commemorate. It's we always do this when we plant a rose. You get to take a rose with you, and it'll stay preserved. So that's in honor and in memory of Dottie Rambo. So that's pretty much all we have to do, except to wish her all the best. We know she's looking down today, and she's where we'd all like to be right now, right? In heaven? Because this heat is hell.
So I began thinking later, what can I do to really get through this grief process, but pay honor to Dottie? And right before Dottie died, I had been working on doing a project that was a tribute to her songwriting. So I got a list of all her favorite singers, songs that if she would like them to sing, what would she like them to do, and stuff like that. So it started out that way before she died. And after she died, it kind of developed more, because I wanted to really pursue this now. and I had her blessing on it, so that made it even more special. So I started working on it, and I called artists from rock music, country music, bluegrass music, some gospel music and contemporary Christian. I wanted to show, and black gospel, because I wanted to show all aspects of her songwriting. Because this is the woman who wrote for Elvis, Whitney Houston, Dolly, Aretha Franklin. I mean, the list goes on and on. Movies and all of that. So I wanted to do a really special tribute. I can't really tell you yet who's on it, but we'll do another one of these videos when it gets closer, telling you all about the tribute. But it is called Touch Through Me, the songs of Dottie Rambo, and hopefully it'll be out in 2017. It's a slight possibility Christmas time this year, but I'm thinking it'll probably be more 2017. So that was my way to memorialize her and really build my monument, so to speak, for her, and my way of grieving with something positive at the end of the grief. I actually started producing music after Dottie died. I started right before she died with Carol Channing. And I had been co-producing some of Dottie's demos, and had the best time. It was so fun and rewarding to play with those arrangements. And at first, I wasn't as hands-on in producing. And by the second project that I did, I was hands-on. I mean, if I didn't like something, it got changed. I learned all the lingo. I learned how to make things work. But I did all of that just by being a part of it. No one ever schooled me or taught me, and it's actually one of my very favorite things to do. I guess I liken it to maybe how a painter feels after he's painted something, or how a singer feels after they've sang a great song or recorded a great song. That's how I think producing is. You created something incredible, and I love people, so I love how it involves so many people, because really a production is teamwork. I think the best productions are. So that's how I got started producing, and it has been, like I said, my favorite thing to do. Well, some of my favorite artists of my whole career that I've worked with, including the times I was with Dottie, or that I've produced or just worked with in general. Of course, Dottie would be my favorite. And Dolly Parton, who I've loved since I was 3 years old. So I'm a huge Dolly fan, and I loved getting to know her and work with her. That's another thing that I'm very proud of. Lily Tomlin, who is a dear friend, and I love her and her family. And another one of my childhood heroes, I loved The Incredible Shrinking Lady, or Woman, Carol Channing, who the big Broadway star. And when I was young, she was on every TV show that there was, and that was when reruns also got popular. So everybody, every show that was on the generation before, she was on that show too. So I loved working with her, and such a pro in the studio. And Dolly in the studio, blow your mind away, because she's perfection. The first time, you could use her rough cut for the actual recording if you wanted to. She's so prepared and hits it just right on the mark. Little Richard, who I adore, and he's become a really good friend, and we call each other and pray with each other, and he's always telling me good positive things and how much he's praying for me, and we went through a lot of the same physical things too, so sometimes we're comparing doctors, but I loved working with him too. And so many people over the years, but those are some of my top favorites, I'd have to say. But I've worked with a lot of great people, Mel Tillis, Ricky Skaggs, Lynn Anderson, who we lost, Patty Page, who we lost, George Jones. That was I don't know how I left him out, because I actually was going to produce George's last album that he was going to do, and we knew it was going to be his last album, and so it was kind of kept hush hush, and we worked really hard on doing it, and it was hush hush that it was going to be his last, but people obviously knew he was going to be recording, so I got calls from Alice Cooper, all kinds of people, wanting to send songs, and people sending great songs. Dolly had written 6 incredible songs for the album. She was going to sing some with him. Kenny Rogers was going to sing a song that Dolly had written with George also on there, and Little Richard had written a song, or had wrote a song for the project. So, there was a lot of excitement, and then we lost him. And we never did get to record anything at all. It just kind of went away. But I always said the fact that George Jones wanted me to produce his last album was like winning a Grammy. I don't know that a Grammy would top that. Now maybe if I ever win one, I might say something different, but as of right now, I don't know that a Grammy would top it as of right now. Well, when I was a child growing up, I loved music, so I loved to watch anything that my favorite music stars were on. But also back then, being an only child, I kind of watched television a lot. So I loved to watch talk shows, and I loved to watch one-on-one an individual interview a star or an artist or whatever about their career. And it wasn't 15 minutes. It was an hour or a half hour or however long the show was. And now it seems like if you have a one-on-one interview, it's like lightning round questions, the quick, what's your favorite restaurant, what's your favorite this, what's your favorite that, and it's the same questions on every show. And so one day, I always dreamed I would like to have a talk show, mainly because I like to talk, as you can probably tell, and talk and talk and talk. And but I also wanted to give a voice to some people that maybe would not be on some of Oprah or, whoever, is big now. And if they were, like I said, it would be such short clips. I wanted to get to the heart of some people and interview some people that I think the public would like to know more about, and I certainly would like to know more about. So that's how I got the idea to do a talk show, and I kind of combined that with my little alter ego of being Mr. Nashville, out when people would see me, they would call me that, and as a joke. And so I kind of combined it because, I don't know, saying like the Larry Ferguson show or whatever, it sounds kind of cocky to me, because who knows who I am? Nobody. But Mr. Nashville kind of sounds like a branding and fun thing, and it pays homage to my favorite city in the world, Nashville. So you couldn't be named after any better place, and that's how I kind of got the idea to do Mr. Nashville Talks. And of course, like I said, you see where the talk part come from. I don't ever shut up. Well, as far as guests I would like to have on Mr. Nashville Talks, there's so many. I could name a book. Well, we already got a great start. We have one of my favorite rock legends, B.B. Buell, and we have country music legend Ronnie McDowell and Jeannie Seeley and Donna Fargo. And I hate to start mentioning names because we're still filming, and I don't want to leave anybody out and have them upset if they see this. So I better stop there while I can. But as far as who I'd like to see on the show, I would love to talk to some of my friends that I've worked with. Barbara Mandrell, of course Dolly Parton, love her. I would love to interview her. Ricky Skaggs, Rhonda Vincent, all of my Grand Ole Opry heroes. Some people I've never met, Marla Gibbs. Actually, Marla Gibbs from who played Florence on the Jeffersons. See, like I told you, I watched television growing up. I love the 80s. And also Mary on 227. But she actually said she'd be on the show. So when I go to Hollywood, I can get her. And then, like I said, some of my friends like Mamie Van Doren and Carol Channing. I'd love to, Lily Tomlin. But there's so many people I would like to interview. In the rock world, Steven Tyler, I met him. I don't know him, but I would love to interview him. Well, you know, there's a lot of people in Nashville I like to interview, you know, like Kelly Clarkson, I love her. Reba McEntire, love her. Susan Lucci, now she's one I would love to interview, Susan Lucci. Oh, I love Susan Lucci. And the Chrisleys, they're here in Nashville now. Sherry Shepherd, I would love to interview her. She's been so gracious and gave us a great promo for the show. Leslie Jordan, who is I won't say a friend, but friend in the business, let's say that, and Dale Shores, who is a friend, and he gave us a great promo for the show as well, and wished us some great luck. Whoopi Goldberg, Rosie O'Donnell, I could go on and on and on. I just love everybody, and especially my heroes, and Nene Leakes, I love Nene Leakes, any of the Housewives gangs, you know, so I'm just a TV junkie, but anybody from the 80s especially. Hey, thanks for watching this little teaser about our upcoming show and what our whole series is going to be about. We kind of thought it would be silly to just start a talk show and not let you know who the host was, so now you know who the host was. So when I quit talking, you can go watch Mr. Nashville Talks and see me talk there. In this episode, you heard me talk about my book, Driving Miss Dottie, about my adventures with the queen of gospel music, Dottie Rambo, and we thought it would be fun to give away one. So we hope you'll take part in this contest. If you go to www.mrnashvilletalks.com, you can sign up to register to win a copy. And while you're there, visit all our other social media outlets like Instagram. Our handle is Mr. Nashville Talks, and Twitter, Mr. Nashville Talk without the S, and on Facebook, just Mr. Nashville. Like us there, and make sure to follow us on all of those, and you'll get all the great information about our future guests and future contests. And if I stop talking and talking and talking, you can go do that. I'll shut up now, but not for long.
Waylon Payne.
Phoebe Buell.
I'm Ronnie McDowell.
And I'm Nathan Stanley.
This is Stella Parton.
Crazy George Wallace.
My name is Jonathan Kane.
I'm Donna Fargo.
My name is Manuel.
Jeannie C.
And make sure you tune into
Mr. Nashville.
Mr. Nashville. And Mr. Nashville Talks.
Mr. Nashville Talks.
Stay tuned, it's coming to you.
And if your show doesn't work, I'm going to cut your neck off.
And I promise to let him talk.